Welcome to the Diary of Discovery, the podcast where we delve deep into the human experience of healing and transformation. I'm your host, Jacky, and each week we will sit down with inspiring individuals who have embarked on their own personal journeys of healing and self-discovery. From overcoming trauma to navigating life's challenges, our guests share their raw and honest stories, offering insights, wisdom, and hope to all who tune in. So grab your favorite cup of tea, find a cozy spot, and join us as we uncover the power of resilience, courage, and the pursuit of authenticity. This is the Diary of Discovery. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. We are back for another solo episode, and I'm super excited to talk into how every chapter of your life shapes who you're becoming. And for anybody who's known me and listened to the podcast for a while, you'll know that I've had so many different chapters in my personal life, in my healing journey, in my working life. And this, from living in the UK, living in South Africa, from consulting in global corporations, from consulting in global corporations, like analyzing their systems and saving companies loads of money, to running my own online business and supporting, individual business owners on their journey of starting their own online business and accessing freedom, to stepping into roles like communications and marketing for local running races and doing, all of that kind of logistics on a large scale, and even being a carer in either a paid capacity or a volunteer capacity, and supporting, people who are in the older generation who have just got the most incredible lives and stories. And yeah, just like it feeds my soul in such a different way. So for a really long time, I genuinely believed that I needed to pick a lane. I needed to find the one thing, do the thing that defined me, that was me, that made me all the money, that everything came from one place. But lately, what I've started to realize is something completely different. Each one of those seasons has been preparing me for the next version of myself. So in every role that I've done, it's met a different need in me. Some have given me structure, some have given me purpose, some have given me income. And most importantly, all of them have helped me to regulate my nervous system and to deal with people in different ways, to work with people from a vast majority of different walks of life, to basically help me get to know myself and my boundaries and what's important to me and how I want to show up. And today I wanted to share a little bit around like what this elevation and evolution has actually looked like for me, what it might mean for you if you were in this kind of season of transition, especially if you're a woman running a business that's growing faster maybe than your nervous system and your physical business system can handle. Like, I really want to talk into this idea of like what I've learned as I've gone through this. So let's kind of go through the evolutions. Now, when I first left South Africa, I was 19, I was really young. I literally had the backpack that was on my back, and I got on a plane with a one-way ticket. That was the plan. Like, that was all there was to it. And I remember so many people being shocked and concerned for this, young girl leaving and going and doing her own thing. But I also remember this other energy of people being really in awe. Now, at the time, I don't think that I was being brave. I don't, I wasn't doing it from a place of consciousness. I wasn't going, oh, I'm gonna go and like do this brave thing. It was much more just a like something isn't working for me in the space that I'm in and I need to do something else. And I feel like that is very much how all of my decisions are made, how all of my life and how I progress is very much, I get to the point where I'm like, actually, I don't want to sit in this discomfort anymore. I don't want to be in this place anymore. So I'm going to do something different and show up differently and change something, be it my environment, my work, the people I surround myself with, etc. So it's really, really interesting because everything I feel that I went through in all of these stages, so whether it was, leaving South Africa, relatively new out of school and college to go an au pair in Holland was my first stop, or whether it was, working and traveling in different bars and different restaurants. And all the way through to my first, what you could call real job of working in a call center. Like all of these things taught me different skills that have worked so well in my favor as I've gone on this journey. And I think a lot of people discount a lot of what they've done previously because they're like, oh, well, it's not relevant now. But actually, there's always a thread of relevance. There's always something that you're learning. And if I look at like working in a call center, it was my first opportunity to become a trainer, to stand up in front of people and actually deliver, to think on my feet, to solve problems in real time. And actually, that then became one of my strongest selling points as I went through everything else that I did. So, if we jump forward a little bit to being made redundant, when I got made redundant, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I didn't really know, I didn't have like a clear idea, but something that had always been of interest to me was running my own business, being my own boss, showing up and, you know, being my own person. So the first thing that kind of happened was I fell into consultancy. And when I was in consultancy, I was in corporate. So I didn't step that far away from this kind of, 9 to 5 world, but I did have a bit more flexibility and a bit more freedom and also much more autonomy to earn better money, which was a really big thing for me at the time. So the world kind of revolved in that corporate world. It revolved a lot around systems, structures, efficiencies. Like I was bought in to look at leadership, to look at problems, to look at communication, to look at systems that weren't working, and then go, this is the solution. These are the conversations we need to be having. Like, where is the money, energy, teamwork being wasted? And actually, can we create clarity instead of chaos in this process? And one of my favorite conversations with a group of leaders was in a manufacturer. We had a group of leaders in the room. We were, doing a session with them. And there was this real hostile environment between the leaders of different departments. And once we broke it down and they had a really good conversation, what we realized is the problems that they were having on both sides were actually costing the business money. And through that one conversation, and those two department heads having this conversation and me being able to facilitate that space for them, the business saved like £300,000 in one unit in one department, and they were a global corporation, so they were then able to take that learning and put it into practice in so many different places. So looking back at the time, like I didn't really see the value that I added per se. I wasn't able to kind of zoom out and look at it from a strategic point of view because I was so new to running my own business that it was just like, well, there's a problem, we need to fix it. Like these people aren't happy, like we need the engagement to be really good. It wasn't until I actually sit back now and I think, oh my gosh, like actually the amount of money that was saved by zooming out and looking at the big picture and actually being able to regrow, like rebuild on the ground and say, how do we fix this? It taught me so much about myself. And in that consultancy, there was a lot of stability. I was earning a six-figure income. My running costs were really low. That has been like a key thing for me in everything that I've done. I keep my running costs and my living costs really low. It's like a point of contention for me. But through this, I I learned this kind of sense of safety, like this sense of predictability, stability, routine. And my nervous system liked that idea of like there's a constant income. We know what we're working, we know how we're doing this, we know what we're training, we know what we're teaching. Like there's almost a tick box regime here. But that didn't work for a very long period of time. It started to get really challenging for me because life was happening so dramatically. We had so many losses in our family during that first year of my business. And myself and my husband got married in that year. Like there was so many things that happened. We literally like had a redundancy, lost two family members. We got married, we lost three more family members. Like it was full on. And my nervous system then actually couldn't handle how much I needed to show up in that space, how much I needed to travel, be accessible for people. It was 17-hour days. You know, the money was really good, but actually the payoff ended up not being worth it in the end. And this was when I started to realize that actually I needed to shift into something new. So this was when like the online coaching and startup season started for me. And this was much more about like courage and creativity. So actually coming into the online space, and I massively believe that I'm always supported. I'm always supported in the universe in what I do. So from every single country I've moved to, I found a job really easily. Every single venture that I've gone on, there's everything is always lined up. I put in the work and I get the results. And this was no different. I decided in 2019 I'm going to move away from this contract stuff. I'm going to move into the online space. It was around the August time I started to pull back from the contracts, started to do less of that work, and started to sort of close down the clients. And in that process I started to build this online school, this online startup school. And I didn't really know exactly how this was going to work and what I was going to be doing, but I did know that by the March of 2020, I needed to be earning money in this space. I needed to be earning relatively good money. And one of the big things, one of the big shifters for me was COVID. So, well, there were so many negative things that came out of that time. And, we had family members that almost passed away. We were stuck in the UK and they were in South Africa. It was really traumatic. There were so many things for my nervous system to process during that time. But one of the positives was I was 6 months ahead of everybody who was moving into the online space because I had already decided and already built and already started that process. And so when I was launching and talking and saying, hey, we're doing this thing, we're building this startup school, like people can come and join us, there were literally hundreds and thousands of people around the world who were suddenly in a really, really scary position of being put on, gardening leave, being made redundant, not knowing if they were going to have work, like not knowing if their industry was going to survive. Like there was so much happening. So it was really fast moving. It was really, really uncertain. It was really exciting. It was really emotional. And actually, a lot of that period is when I was healing from depression as well. So I had to learn a lot of resilience in that time. Like I had to learn to trust my intuition and to be visible and take risks and show up even when like nobody was clapping yet, nobody, like I had no results in this area yet. I had to really stretch myself and show up even though I didn't really necessarily feel like I was worthy of being in that space yet. And that feeling of worthiness was massively linked to my depression, massively linked to, I don't know whether I can do this because I am so emotionally low and it's really hard to kind of show up. It felt like it was quite fake at that time, which was quite tiring, but it was also necessary to become the person who could do that. And it's really interesting because that season actually saw me through a really, really like big piece of my journey in stabilizing, in getting out of debt, in creating the leverage and the platform to move back to South Africa. and become, this version of myself and, this version of us for myself and my husband. And one of the big shifts was creating that stability that meant we moved home debt free. We moved home debt free, mortgage free, bought our house cash, bought our cars cash, like showed up in a way that at the age of, gosh, what were we, like 33, 34, was absolutely wild. Like none of our friends were living in this way. Nobody in our age category was kind of showing up in this way. Um, all the people we knew were just in such a different expression of themselves. So there was a real kind of sovereignty in landing in being that person. And again, dealing with everything that comes up with your nervous system of like my whole tribe is in a different place to me. And like, do I still fit in? Is this still the right place for me? Like, have we made the right move? And there were so many things that came up. And in this process, I got the online business to a place where it was working really well, where it didn't require a lot of my energy, a lot of my time. I was working one to one with the most incredible clients, selling out, like we would end a year in November and already be sold out for the whole of our one to one calendar for the following year. So there was a loads of these like things that needed to be considered, okay, as I was coming through and kind of navigating this. And part of what I wanted to do was diversify our income streams. So my husband works in a traditional job, and he has a very structured income that we don't really have much ability to change. With me, I've got the online business, and that wasn't taking masses of my time. And it was giving me certain tick boxes for what I needed, but actually, there were more things that I wanted. And one of the big things was we're in this really good position, but actually, can we make the position better? Can we stabilize in our finances? Can we start to grow our retirement funds? Can we actually really create a more grounded like playing field to actually grow the business from? And it was really interesting because, again, I really believe in the right things will find you at the right time. And there's always seasons of your life that are for different things. And one of the things that came across my plate was this opportunity to go and be a live-in carer in the UK. And it was really, really interesting because everything up until this point had been digital, online, fast moving, forever changing. And when this opportunity like came up at first, I was like, oh, I don't know how this fits. Like, could I do this? Like, would this suit my business model? Am I allowed to do this? And when I finally kind of dropped all of this, am I allowed, and just connected back into like, do I actually want to do this? There was a piece of me that really wanted to. There was a piece of me that really wanted to just reconnect with the humanity of people, of like, older generations who have lived such incredible lives. And when I first signed up, I didn't know whether I was going to stick with it. I didn't know whether it was something I'd want to do on the long term. But I was like, actually, it's a good chunk of money, even if it ends up not being something that I want to do in the long run. It'll never be a waste. And it was so interesting because going on that journey, it literally slowed me right down. It reminded me that success isn't always about speed. Sometimes success is genuinely in stillness, it's genuinely in service, it's genuinely in empathy that we've got for people. And this season, like, it's done such a nervous system reset for me. It has reminded me that the deepest healing happens when I am not pushing myself, when I'm not trying really hard. And as a qualified yoga teacher, there's this concept in the yogic like studies, which is this idea of non-grasping, of letting the world unfold around you and not holding on to things that don't serve you or holding on to things that aren't right for you. And I think there was this real kind of moment in going into this caring role and existing in the space that belongs to other people. But these people are all exceptional people. Like they're of a certain caliber who can afford living carers. They have a steady wealth, you know, a connection of people, a way of showing up in life, and stories. The stories that these people can tell are just so incredible. I learned so many valuable lessons in what is actually important, what are the things that will matter in the future by going through and doing this process. And one of the big things when I came back from doing this season of caring, so I did this last year as a starting point. I'm going to go and do it more this year again, which is incredible. But one of the big things that happened is I came home with a really good chunk of money that could, be surplus to what my business was earning, be surplus to what my husband was earning. And it meant that everything became a little bit easier. We had a bit more space. There was, more breathing room. And one of the really interesting things is it showed me that even though I want all of this space and freedom and, to retire my husband and for us to be able to go on adventures, my nervous system was actually really uncomfortable with all the space that I created. My nervous system really, really felt challenged by the stillness, by giving myself, 5 months where I didn't really have to do anything. And one of the big things that I actually did during this process was I said yes to a contract locally to work in helping organize an event. So this event was a local running event for the community close to where I live, and I said yes to doing all of their marketing, media, comms, um, and like sort of logistics for this race. And I came into the team really late. There was a lot of kind of catching up to do. It was very full on. And I absolutely thrived in that space. I absolutely thrived in that scale, system, problem solve, getting your hands dirty. And the event had, thousands of people that were included, like the sponsors, volunteers. We had literally, gosh, probably 4,000 people, 5,000 people that we were coordinating. And at that level, you can't just like wing it. You can't just make it up. You need really clear systems. You need a team you can trust. You need really solid communications. And that was kind of the area that I was put in charge of. And that was where I sort of started connecting the dots. Like the same principles apply to a business that you're growing. The same principles apply as you are healing. Like you can't grow or scale or heal or develop on grit alone. There needs to be a level of structure to actually protect your energy and your vision and how you want to show up. And I think that each of these different elements, like each of these different seasons, has taught me something really essential. Like the consulting gave me this kind of thinking system, this level of confidence, like I actually know what I'm talking about. The online space gave me this like courage, this creativity, this like being okay with being seen and being heard, and people looking to me as an expert. And then the caring gave me like this idea of presence, of purpose, like grounding back into myself so deeply. And then the race really taught me this idea of leadership, of structure, of, doing things properly on scale for mass people. And together they've built this new version of me, this new, I guess, this new business. Like it will probably change how I show up in the business space. Like it will probably change who I work with and what I do in the long run, because the business that I'm running, it's no longer running on adrenaline. It's actually being built on alignment. It's actually being built on who I am now, rather than this kind of scrappy energy of like trying to figure it out as I go and learning all of these big lessons. And the I guess if you're listening, like, and you're in that same kind of evolution, you've built the thing, like you've done the hard graft, whether, as I said, whether it's business, whether it's life, whether it's career, like you've proven that it actually works. But now the system that you've got, like, it isn't working anymore. Like they always say that what got you here won't get you to the next level. And I think a lot of people hold on to the old system for too long, and your nervous system just gets really tired. So, whether it is the healing that you're going through where you are at a certain level and you're tired and you want to break through to this next version of yourself, whether you are, say, running a multiple five-figure business, but actually it's just not sustainable at the moment and it's feeling really, really difficult. I think like what I've learned and what I want to invite you to reflect on is, how do you, like, let's go through four things actually. Let's look at this in this way. So, how do you audit the structure that's holding you at the moment? So, look at your ecosystem, like, look at your business like it's an ecosystem, look at your life like it's an ecosystem. Where is energy leaking? What is draining your time, your profit, your creativity, your boundaries? Like, what is it that is just draining you at the moment? And actually, is the structure holding you, supporting you? And is the ecosystem helping you grow, or is it keeping you stuck? So that's like your first level. Actually audit the structure that's holding you. The second one is, how do we find safety before we push to the next level, before we scale, before we try and jump into the next thing? So if your nervous system can't hold the expansion because it doesn't feel safe, it might mean that actually you need better boundaries, you need more financial clarity, you need more support. And I think that this is one of the big things, like doing the caring role gave me that level of financial stability and clarity, that it made the business much more easy to scale. It made it much more easy to see the clarity of what I actually want to do, because it wasn't a case of, oh my God, but I've got to earn money now. It was a case of, okay, actually, how do I want to build this? What do I want this to look like? How could this feel safe, and scale? And the safety came from something outside of the system. So ask yourself that question, like, how do you find safety before you try and jump into the next thing? The third thing is that, how do you actually build a system that gives you freedom? And I ask this to my clients all the time. Like, the goal isn't to be busier, the goal is to create space. But you need to build a system where your nervous system is happy with the space that you're creating. So, a structure that actually allows you to be a creative again, a structure that actually allows you to show up in the best possible way. And we build the system not through doing more. We build the system through stillness. We build the system through actually showing up and creating space for ourselves. So, whether this is in business where everything is all crazy and you can't, pull out the key things you should be focusing on, or whether this is in life where you're like, actually, everything is just a little bit mental right now. I need to have better structures, better systems, better support. One of the best things that I always find, like with my business, is I will say things like, okay, I really want to push and scale the business. I really want to spend more time in the business. So the goal is not how do I create more time in the business? The goal is how do I free up time in my personal space, in my life? So, can I outsource more of my, household jobs? Can I outsource more of my cooking or bulk cook or create in a way that is slightly different. So I want you to think about that when you're actually building the systems that give you freedom. What does that look like for you? And then the last one is to honor every season. Like, even if this one feels really messy right now, it's serving a purpose. Each chapter is building capacity for the next chapter. So if you're sitting in mayhem right now, it might not feel like it's there for a purpose, but I promise you it is. When you look back, it's so much easier to see, oh, that's what I was being taught. That is what the purpose of that journey was. And when I was in some of these moments, they didn't necessarily feel good. They didn't necessarily feel like I was learning some valuable lesson that would help me in the future. But genuinely, looking back now, I'm like, oh, yeah, actually, I can see that. And I think that this is one of the things that I've learned while going on this healing journey is when I'm in a situation now, it's much easier for me to realize that it is changeable, to realize that nothing stays the same, to realize that I will grow through this, to realize that things will be different. So the women that I'm working with now are usually right here. They're in this edge of growth, but they're just really exhausted by the weight of it. And I think in your healing journey, like it's such a true fact. Like you're on the edge of growth, you're on the edge of the new life that you want, but you're exhausted by the weight of it because your nervous system doesn't know how to hold it yet. So you don't need another hustle strategy. You don't need, how do I do more? How do I fit in more? How do I please more people? You need to stabilize where you are. And whether that is in your business, in your boundaries, in your personal life, like you need to stabilize where you are right now so that you're actually creating a system, an ecosystem that can hold you and not one that drains you more and more and more. So for me, in the season right now of like, it's all about integration. So taking all of the things that I've learned from across all of these roles and using them to build something that is genuinely sustainable, genuinely spacious, genuinely like calm. One of the big things, like I'm no longer chasing that next high. I'm building the next foundation. I'm saying, actually, I don't want to be massive and, big on social media or build this massive legacy or have something that has me tied to it forever. What I'm really building is like a remembering of who I actually am, all of the things that I've gone through, and then putting that into something that serves me. It serves my relationship with my husband. It serves the way that we want to live our lives. And the big thing for me is like, I've got a set amount of money in my mind. I want to earn that amount of money. And when I have that amount of money, I want to be able to step away from everything I've created and disappear for 6 months, to go through Hike America, to go and travel, to go and experience life in a completely different way. And so it's a very different way of looking at how I'm actually building. And I guess like my reflection for you, like I want to just like give you something to really think about. You can grab a journal and write this down and really kind of ponder on this. But where are you evolving right now? Like, what does the next version of you need to feel safe and supported and seen? I really think that this is like a critical idea in this whole process of business, in this whole process of healing, in this whole process of life, is like genuinely, what does your next version need to feel safe and supported and seen? And if you're sitting here and this episode has really landed with you and you really want to build from a nervous system of safety rather than burnout, I would really love for you to reach out. I am at this point where I'm thinking about opening my one-to-one book again. I'm not 100% sure, but I really think if I find the right women who are at the right point in their business, at the right point in their journey, really wanting to stabilize what they've built. You've built something really incredible and you want to really stabilize in that place. I would love for you to email me. I'd love for you to reach out. because this is really, I think, where I'm heading and where I want to see more women heading. Like, just knowing that you're not meant to stay in one chapter forever. You're not meant to keep repeating the exact same story over and over again. You're meant to keep evolving. And it's just like the seasons. And I really just like thank you all for being part of this journey with me, because having this podcast, having this space, speaking to so many incredible guests, getting a space to actually share my own thoughts and get feedback from people who listen to the podcast, it really helps my own evolution and my own journey. And it really makes me like super proud to be on this journey and be able to share this all with you. So thank you so much for being part of this journey. I absolutely love this process, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Next week, we'll be back with our guest experts and all of these incredible people who are talking about their healing journeys and what they've gone through, and just bringing the most inspirational stories to all of you. And I literally cannot wait to tune in for our next solo episode and dive into more of this journey with you all. So thank you for being part of it. Thank you for listening to another inspiring episode of the Diary of Discovery. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends, family, or anyone else you think might benefit from the stories of hope and transformation. Your feedback means the absolute world to us, so please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help us to reach even more listeners and continue to bring this meaningful content to the world. Until next time, remember, your healing journey is valid. You are never alone, and you have the strength to get through this. Keep shining bright, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Diary of Discovery.